welcome to Mixed Up, the live event series. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you in the room with us. We actually, our listeners often tell us that they feel like they're in the room with us when they're listening. So it's cool to have you actually here, IRL, to see your faces. And I can actually see listeners, guests. Hi. So yeah, it's really, really lovely to have you here with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. So we are your Mixed Up podcast hosts. I'm Emma.
And I'm Nicole.
And yeah, so tonight we are absolutely overjoyed to have a special guest with us. But before we get into that, in case you've stumbled into this room completely unawares as to what this is and you were hoping to have a lovely evening in Soho House, you've got no idea who we are or what the podcast is about. Mixed Up is a podcast that covers topics around race and identity that we started in 2020 during lockdown. So people had ample time to listen to podcasts, and as a result, it took off, and we ended up speaking to a whole range of incredible people about lots of different topics. So everything from kind of grief to food to interracial relationships to gender to all sorts of things. And doing that, we've kind of built a community and had the opportunity to speak to a different range of guests. So this season, for example, Afua Hirsch, Anton Ferdinand, so just really, really different people with different experiences. And essentially, I think we've built a community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think often Emma and I talk about how this has been, just like our heartland in terms of finding our people and having a chance to connect and talk to each other, talk to other mixed race people about their experiences as well. So this is, this has been a real joy, and it's a joy to have you all sitting here today.
So why us? Why are we bringing you this melting pot of subject matter? So a bit about us, I guess. So I'm Emma, and I am your Black British mixed Caribbean, so Jamaican, German, Swiss, you could go on, mixed host of the podcast. And my background is in sustainability and ethics. That's kind of my mainstay in regards to work. And I've done lots of things within that discipline, so consulting for brands and innovation and kind of reframing the charity retail space. Even styling for celebrities. Nicole reminded me earlier, I was like, what should I say that's interesting? She was like, tell them about styling Solange. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. And then I remembered, I've done all manner of things, including choosing onesies, if you call them what? Should I call it onesie? Jumpsuits that were white for her to ride on white bicycles during her wedding. At this point, I've lived a multitude of lives and had many careers, but I can definitely say that this particular mode of work for me has been the most rewarding, and I've learned the most, about not just the people I've spoken to, but about myself.
Sorry, I just want to say you've really just casually been like, I styled Solange's wedding. That really iconic photo that I think we all know. Just drop that bombshell on me, casually.
Yeah, like I say, I've lived a few lives already, but I
can't believe you never told me that. But that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's seared into my brain that search, and sometimes those things that are traumatic, you just choose to forget them and delete them from your life. But anyway, you guys can enjoy that.
Oh dear, yeah.
Tidbit.
Well, I'm Nicole. I am the resident American of this podcast. I am Ghanaian and Filipino. I moved to London, well over a decade ago now, and I'm in the process of becoming a citizen, so wish me luck. But like Emma said, this has been, I feel like I've lived many lives as well, but I moved here originally to study journalism, and after a stint at some terrible tabloids, I feel like I'm now doing the work that I really enjoy, having the conversations that I'd always hoped that I could have, doing investigative work and also having really fun and funny, joyful conversations with people. So I'm excited. We can't wait to have one again today.
It's not all serious. We do bring the jokes.
Exactly.
Also.
There's some bands and
just
thrown in.
Wait. Okay, so to get into today, we are going to be digging into Melissa Hemsley's food philosophy. I'm very excited, and I am going to be doing a lot of food puns, so just bear with me. I can't help it, they're just like tripping off the tongue. But we're going to be digging into her joyful food philosophy and exploring how food is tied to identity and heritage. And yeah, we're really, really excited to have her.
Yes. So I can't imagine anyone not knowing who Melissa Hemlsey is. But for those of you who don't know, Melissa is a self-taught cook. She is a best-selling author. She is a sustainability champion. She has written 4 best-selling books like The Art of Eating Well and Good and Simple. And most recently, her book Feel Good was published last May with really tasty and comforting recipes to have you feeling your best. So let's invite Mel up onto the stage. Thank you so much, Mel, for being here. With your lovely warming tea. Yay.
Squeeze in, squeeze in.
Little obstacle course.
Yeah, exactly.
That walk felt so long.
Did it? Bit of a runway.
There's no music, it feels long.
I know, it does. But
I was saying it feels like when you're at church and you haven't been for a while and you know all your aunties are judging you.
Yeah.
When you walk up the aisle.
Oh, I know it well, yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here.
you.
I'm really
Thank
excited
you.
to finally have this chat with you. I think, with your book, I know that I felt like connecting with others, with friends and family and loved ones, felt like such a really poignant way to kind of have this conversation about feeling good and feeling good with food. I think so much of it pre-pandemic was very, you've only got 20 minutes, very quick, and we're all kind of rushed off our feet. So this felt so much like very sitting around the table, spending time with each other. So yeah, I want to start off with your feel-good philosophy. What is that to you, and what do you hope, readers and our audience can take from that?
I find it so hard to sum
it up.
anyone else
Okay.
it's your job and you talk about it all day, but then someone asks you a question and you just go,
Put you on the spot.
how do I mean, it's a question I should have anticipated, like a very basic question. I'm already a bit stuck. But sorry, the question, feel good food.
Yeah.
It's all different. It changes, from moment to moment, season to season, mood to mood. But I know this sounds bad, but I know you get it now. I know you don't like cold food. Feel good food for me is hot and wet food. And I'm not trying to be raunchy, but bowl food, stews, curries, soups, saucy food. I'll put a porridge in there, but a really good porridge that's got, salt in it and sweetness in it. And I feel like food feeds us on so many levels. So, sometimes I'm going to eat something not because I specifically want the flavor, but maybe the smell of it conjures up something for me. Maybe it's the texture. When I asked a load of people what their comfort food was, it was so funny. I did this event in Devon and we handed around a piece of paper and it was secret comfort food and then your actual comfort food. And loads of people, because the conversation was that loads of people lie when asked what their comfort food is. So if you just imagine in your head, if I put a mic to your mouth, would you say what your actual comfort food was? Anyway, and there were some, people changed from their secret comfort food to their actual comfort food. And then I'm just laughing because someone put Alpen in a mug for both of them, and then they were brackets uni days, but that still is their favorite, this dry muesli. But things on toast came up a lot.
Dry
Cheesy.
food is also one for me that I'm very adamantly
That's why I said
against.
hot and wet food.
Exactly, that's
not
why
dry
it's
and cold.
crucial. Yeah,
But only dry food that's
Crisps.
Crisps.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Because
it.
even a fry has to have, for me, vinegar and ketchup with it.
No.
Gotta have
No?
sauce. Oh
Which
no!
one?
No, sorry, you mean a fry?
Yeah,
French
French
fries,
fry.
chips,
Like a chips.
Still no. I don't like ketchup.
It's a shock.
Unless it's
It's shocking news. for me.
homemade,
Oh, really?
told you I was bougie.
You like them more when they're like a chutney?
Yeah,
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
No.
I can do that.
I feel like all my weird food things are going to come out now. texture things for me as well.
What's your texture? What textures don't you like?
So you said porridge. I can't do a porridge.
No, I can't either.
It's the texture.
It's a bit like
Let's not
I'm
go
about to
down
make
that
myself
road.
sick then.
Yeah.
Porridge is a bit like sick, isn't it? If you think about it. What else don't you like the texture of?
Like literally anything like that. So like rice pudding, tapioca.
Oh.
Anything that is like, again, something that's meant to be like a drink.
Like,
that
is a risotto your worst
yeah.
nightmare?
Oh no, I do like a risotto. Yeah.
Risotto is like a porridge, but with cheese on it.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because it's cheese.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you on all of that. I can eat a risotto, no rice pudding, no porridge, no custard.
Oh.
Ooh.
Sticky toffee pudding and what will you have with your sticky toffee pudding then?
Ice cream.
Yeah, fine.
True.
Fair.
That is better.
Fair.
That's clearly the answer.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Clearly. Right.
Right.
I mean, we've gone way off piece. way off
But
piece.
what that is
But
interesting,
I love
isn't
it.
Texture, temperature,
Yeah.
not just flavour. Like you think it's about flavour, but
Exactly.
it's texture, temperature. Also the way it's served, like it's
Yeah.
in a bowl. I don't like things in a plate because I'm messy.
Me too.
And then, you know, my comfort food probably would be like in my head, I think, I want to have food in bed, you know, as like an ultimate, like, I don't know who I think I am, like in a Wes Anderson movie.
Indulgence.
But
yeah.
actually, I don't want my bedroom to smell
Oh yeah.
food. So, but I like being on the sofa with
Yeah.
food. But not great for digestion, I'm finding as I get older.
Yeah,
Anyone else's
it's not-
digestion just going downhill unless you keep on top of it?
The practicalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
Now I get why my mum chews everything 12,000 times.
My mom does too. I feel like we're going to get into this too about our moms being the same. I
Would
don't know.
your
We'll
mum-
see.
So like drilled into me is, you know, I can't hear the word rice, think about rice, see rice without my mum saying to me every grain of rice. So like if I ate a meal and then a
yeah.
bit of rice like fell on the floor or was on the, you know, like, you know, the rim of a plate, but under the rim, so I couldn't see it, but she could see it.
Yeah.
She'd be like, every grain of rice.
you
know,
have to finish it.
You have to finish it. Yeah.
And it was like absolute sin. And I'd be like, I can't even see this piece of rice that's on the underside rim that she is just eyeballing. She's eating her whole meal, waiting for
knows.
me to not eat it.
They're
So
just
then she
aware.
can have a go at me
Yeah.
for the sacrilege.
Yeah. They just know. They have
Yeah.
radar, I think. They know everything. But your mom is the one who taught you to cook, right?
Yeah. She taught me to cook. But sorry, no, she didn't intentionally, we didn't like
Yeah. She didn't set
make
out to.
cupcakes together and she didn't make it lovely and fun and gorgeous and like a soap opera. It was just work and then come and, you know, do this, do that, do what? That. What? You know, like
This is
busy mums, isn't it?
That's
Like
my
it was
mum
like
trying to teach
that
me.
thingamajig. And so I sort of picked up in I guess the way I cook now is based on how she cooks, which is what's there, what needs eating up.
Oh, yeah.
She's also a big fan of hot and wet. Sorry, Mum. And literally, she just mixes everything up, like you guys, you know. And on a Sunday, she hates me telling this story. She's like, "It's not true." Does anyone else's mum do that when you say stuff? She'll find something. We grew up in Kingston, and she'll find like the Tolworth Times, which is like a tiny little place near Kingston, will run a piece on me, and she'll find it, and she'll be like, "Why did you say this in the Tolworth Times? This is not true." But on a Sunday, because we grew up on army bases, so everyone's sort of running in and out of everyone's homes, and people would be like, "Oh, I'm off to have a roast," and my mum would make like big mixed soup, which would be delicious. But when you smell everyone else's roast beef and chicken coming through, and it would be like leftover pasta and tomato sauce, so delicious, you know, fried up with carrots, celery, stock, and then she'd get like old bread and sprinkle it with water, put it under the oven so it would rehydrate. Then she'd make garlic butter, like delicious, like garlic bread and
Sounds
soup.
amazing.
But you know, when you're a kid, I didn't like hot and wet so much. I wanted the roast dinner, I wanted the fish fingers. But that was her way of clearing the fridge out before the week. Obviously, it tasted amazing because leftovers, things that roll over, taste better after a night in the fridge. So, like the pasta and tomato sauce was amazing flavour in the base of the soup. And I definitely took it for granted and didn't realise how great she was. She's still alive. But and spam. We didn't have much spam, but we had a lot of corned beef.
We had a lot of corned beef as well. We didn't have spam in our house. really much either. And I think it's because my mom always said my dad hated it. He was very adamantly against Spam.
Yeah.
So she then also was not that into it. But we had lots of corned beef stew, corned beef sandwiches.
We used to do
hot. That's important.
hot. Yeah. Mine too. Basically, just assume that everything is hot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. We used to have, like a baked potato. Like imagine a jacket potato. So it'd be like a baked potato, and then my mom would open it up. And this would be when she was working on a Saturday. So she would get it all ready and then you just shove it in the microwave. And it'd be baked potato with corned beef, peas, and loads of ketchup. That was my thing.
Sounds great.
I haven't had it for years, and that's not Filipino.
It's
That's
not.
just
Yeah.
random.
That's just random foods put together.
That's
I love
the other
it.
thing. I didn't know when I was growing up what was Filipino and what wasn't.
Oh, that was going to be kind of my next question to you, which was, was there anything specific, like any specific? I mean, obviously, what it is, what the Filipino dishes are now, but maybe, what are your favorites?
I
What are
don't
your
know.
favorites?
I want you guys to.
What are your highlights?
Your classics.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite, Nicole?
Well, my favorite is one that my mom makes, which is called a beef machado.
I've never had that.
It's really good. It's like a beef stew with carrot. Sometimes she puts in olive, which I don't love, but
Spanish
I let
influence.
that go. Yeah, exactly. I let her do her thing.
Say its name again.
Beef machado.
Okay.
Yeah, and then her lumpia as well is my
Oh
favorite.
my guys. Anyone like a spring roll? Okay, so lumpia is like 1,000 times better.
It's
than
way
a spring
better.
roll.
Yeah, it's just better. I don't even know how to describe
I
it.
think it's better. See, tell me what you think. I think it's better because sometimes a spring roll can be a bit flabby and flaccid. And
Yes.
it doesn't, because it's big, it doesn't get the crispness. Whereas lumpia is just smaller. So you get more surface area of the crisp.
Yeah,
And it's just so much better.
it's just
So
way
much better.
It's way
so that's
better.
lumpia, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also love
Pancit?
Pancit. Yeah, you gotta have a pancit.
What's a pancit?
It's
Hearty
kind of-
noodles.
Yeah, it's kind of like noodles.
Like a chow mein.
Yeah, exactly.
So
The Filipino version.
Philippines. So the Philippines, you tell me if I'm wrong. King Philip of Spain.
You will know more than me.
So there's a big Spanish influence because Philippines named after King Philip of Spain, as it's known now, because they ruled for 400 years. And then there's a lot of Philippines is 7,000 plus islands, so there's a lot of Chinese influence, which is where maybe the lumpia is inspired by the spring rolls,
Yeah.
or maybe the Chinese nicked lumpia and turned it into spring
Who
rolls.
knows? Yeah.
I mean, anyone here know the history of spring rolls? And then pancit is like a riff off chow mein.
Yes.
But then, like you said, with the olives, so then you've got the Spanish influence. So my favorite, and I have a veggie version in this book, is chicken adobo, which is the national, unofficial
forget
national
that?
dish. I was going to say, how did you forget that?
That is
one?
my favorite. Yeah.
And you can have pork adobo, chicken adobo, and this one is a shiitake mushroom adobo. And you braise whatever you're braising, so it's the chicken or the mushrooms with so much garlic. If I think about the smell of my childhood, it's my mum's fingers smelling of garlic.
Yeah.
And like oil of ole, or it was called oil of Yule then.
Yeah, Olivia.
She'd like come and kiss me goodnight, and I'd be like, "Your fingers smell of garlic." But yeah, it's back to adobo, bay leaves, vinegar, garlic, and tamari or soy, and it's that simple, and it's so
I'm
delicious.
sorry to anybody who's not actually eaten.
Yeah.
We're all in this boat together.
Exactly.
And my auntie, she ran a sandwich shop in West London for years, and she said the best seller was a chicken adobo baguette.
Wow.
They'd make a chicken adobo, shove it into a baguette. I guess it's like a banh mi.
Doesn't
Yeah, it
surprise me,
sounds like a
actually.
banh mi, which is delicious. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Dying now.
But it sounds like from all of this that your philosophy for feel good food is really just based in listening to your body
Yeah.
and your body and your mind and what it wants, what it needs. And I think for me, I do have your book,
Thank
your
you.
wonderful book. I think you know this because I post about it on the internet.
Yes, you do. Thank you for that.
And I try to chef some stuff up. Maybe chefing is an overclaim.
I don't chef up. You don't need to chef up.
try-
What is chefing up? Anyone know what chefing up is?
I don't know, but I
can
guess
cook.
I'm just saying I'm not saying I'm qualified, but I give it a go. I try to recreate the things that you do in the book and online. And
I tell you, I'm not qualified either, so don't worry about it. I think that's why my recipes work. Real kitchen,
Exactly,
real person, real F-ups.
yeah. Well, this is it.
Are we allowed to swear? No.
Yes, go for
Okay.
it.
I still can't. Real F-ups.
You're like, I'm still going to stop myself.
My mum's going to find this somehow,
Yeah,
isn't
she will. Your mum's definitely going to listen to this, so just be...
I'm going to get an email debrief.
Yeah.
I do, honestly. I'll go on like TV and talk about an amazing charity, and within 3 seconds, my mum's like, "You didn't brush your hair." Full stop. That's the email.
Wow. I love it.
High standards.
Yeah, got to keep those. That's why you are.
It's like you're representing the whole of the Philippines and Surbiton and Tolway with shit hair.
Please keep it together. What was I going to say?
Sorry, chefing things up.
So, but I really love your recipes and the way you do things, because to Nicole's point, I think your food feels... it always feels warm to start with, and it feels inviting and it feels appealing, but it still feels like it's going to be healthy, and it feels like it's good stuff that I'm going to put into my body. And for me, I think the idea of, what do you call it, clean eating has always been unappealing and felt cold and quite
dry
alien and a bit, I don't really, is it for me? Probably not. So yeah, I really appreciate this type of feel-good food.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a question in that, or me just kind of
I like
smoke
it.
up your ass there.
Thank you.
No, I
I'm
think-
feeling smoky.
But yeah,
No, and that's what I want to feel. I want you to feel, and hope you would feel, because, you know, the opening question that I sort of just randomly went somewhere else with, I meant to say that it's not just what you're eating, it's the way that you're preparing it, the stress-free, you know, we know that we would do well to eat leafy greens. And leafy greens, for example, are a vegetable that if you look at any menu, I'm sure the menu here is full of leafy greens, but if you go to any sandwich shop, canteen, anywhere, you're probably not going to find many leafy greens. They're more expensive. People don't like them as much. They're bitter. You'll find carrots, peas, broccoli. Right, so we know we want to eat more leafy greens. We know they're good for us. But if we force feed ourselves leafy greens, buy them with like distrust and anger, chop them up with like rage and dread, and then shove them in our mouths.
you've literally just described my experience.
Yeah,
with
then
leafy
how is that healthy, feel good? Like, that's not going to do you any good.
greens. Yeah.
It's like I've got this, I've been trying to meditate more recently. I learned years ago and then fell off the wagon and she was just like, if you don't want to meditate, don't meditate. And I was like, what? But all the meditation people say you have to do it twice a day, or you're dead.
Yeah.
And she was like, if you don't want to meditate, don't do it. She's like, why do it? Angrily or. So I really like that. Not that I needed anyone to give myself that permission, but I did.
I mean,
But
I
same
do.
thing. So with the greens, for example, I hope I can show you ways of getting them in. If you're not that into them, then maybe I can help you learn to love them, because I'll pair them with things that make them taste delicious and make them taste less bitter. Or maybe I'll help you sneak them in if you'd rather not look at them, or maybe, that's sort of my thing. Because I am cooking for myself, selfishly. Sometimes I don't want to eat leafy greens. And I'm just craving, I think that's the main thing, is I'm listening to my body. So it's winter. We've said we love hot and wet food. I love hot and wet food in the summer, but it's winter now. I'm starving at like 5:30.
Yeah, same.
And but that's my body listening to the cues. The sun's going down. Like, I'm sure animals in nature, I'm sure those little squirrels are like in bed at 5:30. They're not staying up to watch, like, have White Lotus come out and like, I better eat dinner at 8:30 because that's what time you eat dinner. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 9 years, and he was a DJ when we met. He used to eat dinner at the most random times, and I love a granny dinner. I like to eat early because I feel like I digest.
6 p.m. dinner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's my favorite time to eat.
He actually, on my way here, he was like, can you confirm what time you're going to be home? And he was like, that's too late to eat. And I think, you've changed.
Wow. I'm like
Yeah.
that too, though. I also have a set time where I'm like, can't eat after like 9:30.
Yeah.
That's
And,
too late.
but
Can eat any time.
I have Greek friends, and they're like, every time they invite us for dinner, we rarely see them because they live in Greece. But we're like, we're just like, oh my God, what time does it say? Does it say 10 o'clock? Yes, it says 10 o'clock.
That's like my aunts.
It's like on the way to breakfast.
Yeah, my aunts live in Spain, some of them, and I can't. That is a culture for me with food that is just, it's too late.
But that's the thing, right? Like, I just think feeling good around food is so much more than what you're putting in your mouth. It's like that the fact that you were saying Nicole likes to sit down and have a meal, like that's obviously where you derive more pleasure. You're probably digesting it better.
This is why we get on, because we like to have, as you all know by now, long form conversations.
Yeah.
No small chit chat. Like really, we just like to like get into it. And I feel like we all know like food and the dinner table is where you do that.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I met my boyfriend on Tinder and I can't even remember what my shitty like caption was. But now I think they should have like basic questions like, what time do you like to eat dinner? And then you could be compatible. Do you like dogs? Yes. Do you like dinner before or after 7 o'clock? It's like,
that's a good
get
one.
rid of a lot of time wasters.
in my bio.
But it's so important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
It is.
100%.
And people that skip meals, like some of my friends don't have breakfast and I love them. I don't love them any less, but I love breakfast.
I feel like I'm definitely the outsider. I'm like quietly
Sorry.
stepping back.
Tell us.
I don't eat breakfast.
I eat breakfast.
I like to cook in a way where I invite my friends around. They know they're going to sit in the kitchen with me.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be a cook and taste situation, and we're going to start at 6. We're probably not going to finish till 10. And we're going to have some wine for the food, and then we're going to have some wine for us, and then for the food, and then for us. And by the time we eat, it's going to be late. And that's just how it goes. And the whole thing is, the process for me is the joy. Like them being in the kitchen with me.
That is lovely.
Whilst I make the food and whilst I add to it and like make it for them. Like, you know, slowly make it for them, not like I've wrapped
not like
on a plate and then here we go. Like
Emma has literally come to my house to make dinner and has done exactly that.
I can't.
I love
because I don't cook.
I feel warm just listening to that.
And it was already basically prepared, but I still managed to find 2 hours to continue cooking it. Because that's just who
I can see you with a tea towel over your shoulder, barefoot, great playlist on.
Yeah,
playlist.
You've got to have a playlist.
That is very true.
It's true.
Do you have a bath before people arrive? Almost like at 5 to 6. You're just getting out of the bath.
I mean, I'm probably not even. I'm probably in my pajamas. I don't necessarily need to be dressed for the occasion.
No.
I just need to have my person there, whoever I'm cooking for, and all of my things. And I just,
What would you cook us if we were there?
Probably a stew. I'm a stew cooker.
Yeah.
She made me lasagna last time. It was delicious.
That's a labour of love. Lasagna is a big labour of love.
It was a lot of work. I could tell.
Just quickly interrupting this episode to let you know that our book, The Half of It, which is all about the mixed race experience, is now available to buy.
We're so excited to bring you this book after 3 years in the making. So please get your copy. The link is available in the show notes down below.
I want to talk a little bit about, to kind of riff off of that question about, which wasn't really a question, about clean eating and some of the things we've been fed by the industry around food and like what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating and what's good for us and what's not good for us, and how so much of it, Nicole and I were talking about, you know, for example, in Asian households, in African households, like rice is a staple. It's a really important part of the meal. And, you know, there was definitely a moment when I feel like rice was being demonized. Like, it was like we were not supposed to be eating rice. You know, as somebody who's been in the industry for quite some time and has probably seen like the shifts and change, I want to know like what that's been like from your perspective and how it's kind of made you feel about the foods that you love, and how you've kind of traversed that.
Oh, I like that word, traversed. Well, I think we can all agree that there is always a food trend.
Yes.
Don't ask me what they are. Right now, I don't know what they are. One of the questions I almost always get asked in an interview is, what food must I be buying, stocking,
Oh, wow.
eating? Like what?
What's that?
I know.
Well, you
It's not one of the questions.
Food trend, and I just sit there and I'm like, I don't know, leafy greens. Change up your beans, because we all tend to eat the same beans.
Yeah.
Normally talk about miso for a bit, because it's just so damn delicious and it makes everything have so much depth of flavor. Fermented foods. So there's always something that people want you to talk about. And quite often, you know, they'll blow up in term, you know, if enough people are talking about them, or if there's a good PR. I mean, like, who does the PR for avocados?
Well,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, I know there's a
exactly.
worldwide association of avocados.
Yeah.
Avocados? Not avocados, avocados. My God. You know, and it's like, what did we do before avocados? My mother used to mash avocados, put it in the freezer, and call it ice cream.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrible. Does anyone remember that kids book called like the Avocado? Was it the Avocado Baby?
I can see the.
Avocado.
I can see the. I can see that. Is it an
Is he
avocado
nice?
or a baby in my
Something to
mind?
do with an avocado or a baby. Am I spinning out? Could somebody Google avocado and baby and tell me if I'm making that
Right.
up? I'm sure there's an avocado and a baby. Anyway, so yes, I see food trends come and go a lot. Some of them I think are quite positive. Like, I think the campaign for real bread, for example, like, is really great. Like, you know, the bread that is, you know, sliced, lives forever,
Oh, yeah.
it's got tons of salt and sugar in it. It doesn't really feel like bread, and it also doesn't fill you up, as an example, versus a lovely sourdough, a really great, like, I don't know, a German rye. You know, I lived in Germany when I was younger, that, you know, if you threw it, it would dent the floor, and it's like full of nutrition and lovely toasted with some herrings or just lovely cheese on it. Love a savory breakfast in Germany. So I think that they've got their positives. I think that any story that tells people that we should all eat the same is never going to work, because we know, whether it's food, how we live, none of us eat the same. No, you know, a carrot that I might buy versus a carrot that my mum in the Philippines would buy growing up is going to be a different carrot. Different soil, a different time, and the way we prepare it. So I've sort of gone off-piste and off-topic, but my main thing is food. There will always be food trends. People will always ask what's trendy. There'll be a new restaurant, and then that will spawn, or a new cookery show, and that will then spawn different restaurants, different products, all sorts of things like that. And I just would recommend you keep coming back to the foods you love, while trying to increase the areas in your fridge, freezer, and cupboard where you might feel a little bit of a lack. Not because someone else has told you there's a lack, but because you might feel like there's a lack.
Yeah.
And I can't stop speaking about this woman. And she's called Dr. Uma Naidu, Naidoo, and she has this acronym called Brain Foods. And she's a trained chef, and she's a nutrition expert, nutritional psychiatrist. And just very quickly, I just think about, ever since I read it, I was like, I can't stop thinking about it. So brain food, so B, berries and beans, R, rainbow veg, A, antioxidants, I includes protein, N for nuts, F for fermented foods, O is omega-3s, the other O is oils, D is for dairy, full fat, if you don't eat dairy, full fat coconut, whole foods, and S is for spices. And I love that overview of it. And her whole thing is the connection between our brain and our stomach, our gut and our stomach, and our moods, our emotions. And when you shop, whether you shop once a week or once a fortnight, whatever, or even eat a lot from the freezer, because I love batch cooking, is try and traverse, I'll steal your word, the brain foods. What's the thing?
In their
spectrum.
Yeah.
Traverse the brain food spectrum to try and include some of them in your diet. So for example, I grew up eating white rice for every single meal. Rice pudding.
Exactly.
We would have like a arroz caldo, like a congee.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be your worst nightmare. Wet rice.
Literally my word.
I
My
like
mom
congee,
always
yeah.
gave, actually, to be fair, that was what my mom gave me when I was sick. So I do have fond memories of
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So you'll allow that one.
I'll allow it. I'll allow a wet rice.
But then, you know, thinking of beans, for example, there's a whole world of beans. I get quite excited about beans. I grew up probably maybe like you guys, like, okay, you know, your Heinz baked bean your basic bean, your chickpea, and maybe a butter bean, like with like a kind of like Greek style, loads of tomatoes, garlic. And they were like the three main beans. And maybe if you had a chili, you'd go crazy and have a red kidney bean or a black bean. And then I realized there's all these other beans, dookie beans. Did you know the UK grows so many? There's a company called Hodmedods who call themselves Britain's Pulse Pioneers. How great. It's so cute.
Wow.
And they're a bunch of farmers and they're absolutely in love with beans and pulses. And, you know, they're like, you could buy chickpeas. You can grow chickpeas in the UK, but they actually grow heritage beans. So like they're called Carlin peas or black badger peas, which are sort of the same shape as a chickpea. Now, unfortunately, they're a bit more expensive, a bit harder to get. But as an example of trying to buy more local or just changing up your diet so that you're not just eating one type of bean. Because I find a lot of my plant-based readers will say that they're just eating chickpeas for, you know, chickpea brownies, chickpea.
Not a lot of variation.
Not a lot of variation. And I think we all know variation, diverse diets is a good thing.
Is the key.
Yeah.
Is the key.
I feel like you've led us neatly into...
Didn't mean to. What have I done? Well, did I do something well?
You've led us neatly into sustainability in the kitchen, I suppose, which I think is one of the hardest areas people probably find to crack in the household or in general. I mean, people are not... we know that people don't want to give up certain things. And we know that as soon as you start to really look at the carbon footprint of things that you are bringing into your kitchen and that you are like that are part of your staple diet, you know, it starts to all get a bit techie, stressful. There's so many things that are stressful about trying to bring an element of consciousness and sustainability into the kitchen and the way that you work with food. And everything you do is very much tailored to make sure that people don't feel guilty and they don't feel stressed about what they're doing. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you go about that and how, you know, what are your kind of principles or the things that you suggest to people in starting out on that journey?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense that, the guilt factor is not going to be helpful. I mean, some of us, I'm thinking of any Catholics in the room, any Filipino Catholic, guilt can be a motivator. But in general, I think that guilt is not a good long-term motivator. Removing the guilt. And then I think, yes and no. I agree with you in parts, with food being one of the hardest to crack because you've got three choices, let's say. Say we're lucky enough to eat 3 times a day. We've got 3 choices to get it, I don't know, like right, and 3 choices to beat ourselves up about. So I prefer to think, okay, so I'm not going to guilt myself. I'm just going to try and learn and do better. It's kind of exciting because you've got 3 chances to do a bit better every day. And in general, I would say the 2 things, if you were to say to me what the 2 things you most focus on are, I think no matter how you choose to label yourself, and I know a lot of people don't label themselves at all, so they might have a very plant-rich diet, but they're not plant-based, or they might eat a little bit of fish and meat depending on how they feel, and so they would, anyway, we all have different ways of, and some people I know who've eaten one way for 20 years, now changed and done complete opposite for health reasons, or something's changed in their bodies, vice versa. I think what we all have in common is food waste. I think that's the biggie. However we choose to eat, the statistics don't lie in the sense that 1/3 of the food that we produce is wasted. Quite a lot at the quite a lot in the fields, let's say, where it's grown. You've got wastage there. You've got wastage at the big supermarkets, at the transport distribution level. But then the latest stats from WRAP, which is the big food waste charity, is that your average household is throwing away about £700 worth of pounds sterling of food a year. Now, I kind of can't believe it, but I can, because no matter how much we don't plan to waste and how much we're watching the pennies, it can become too easy to waste. It's like that slice of bread there, that last bit of the yogurt there. Maybe you bought
leafy greens.
Those leafy greens that you couldn't
that you said
chew.
you were gonna.
Yeah,
you said you were gonna eat, but then you didn't.
The fear over freezing. I mean, like speaking of rice, the number of people when I post a rice recipe, someone will be like, "You can't reheat rice."
Why do people say that? I don't understand.
Because you have to be careful when you're reheating rice, and most foods you want to have it hot through. You want to cool it. You don't want to be double heating, but reheating rice has got like it's got a bad rap.
Not in the Okran house, I must say.
Well, this is it.
Actually, what we do all the time.
I'm like,
I've never had food poisoning.
When someone says that, I'm like, well, egg fried rice is the best thing ever. But you know, people have a real fear over.
I told you about the demonization of rice.
It's a thing. They're out to get
egg
us.
fried rice? Yeah. But you know, there is some fears. I was once working with someone, and do you know about the egg test? You put it in water, and if it, I always get confused.
Yeah, I don't remember the rule, but I remember this. Yeah,
if it floats, it's old. But then I tried to use it, and someone was like, "Oh no, the rules have changed there." I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
That's so.
It's just like the health and safety people are confused too. Well, they're just scared, and obviously, if anyone's vulnerable, if anyone's pregnant or older or unwell or their children, then you've got to be careful. But in general, my household, the way we eat is made up of leftovers, batch cooking, and then when people say, "But is that as nutritious as making food fresh?" Well, if I could cook fresh every day, maybe I would. But at the same time, some ingredients, some dishes. I mean, I don't want to have raw food. That's one thing. Lots of us can't digest raw food. Some foods are better cooked, more nutritious than raw. And then also you think, how old is the food that we're even buying?
True.
Exactly.
So a lot of the time frozen food has got its, as my mum would say, nutrients snapped up. Snapped up and ready to go.
I love that.
I think it's interesting what you're saying, though, because that idea of utilising food that's already there, like I think the three of us probably grew up with that kind of philosophy that you are supposed to, if you've still got leftovers, then you're supposed to make something out of it, which will be tomorrow's lunch or dinner. And it's all about using up what you've already got. And then, you can go further to that. We've slightly touched on the demonization of rice, for example. But we know that, basically indigenous communities have specific ways of working with food and resources and nature that mean that things are more regenerative, that things are like long lasting, that we use all of, what we have rather than wasting bits of it if we are going to kind of, for example, have meat or whatever it might be. Do you think that the food industry listens to that kind of ancient historical knowledge at large, or do you think we've kind of moved so far away from that generally that it's become a bit lost? Or do you think that we've kind of moved so far away from it in terms of what you see generally?
I don't know. The food industry is vast, isn't it? So you've got your small producers. I'm a fair trade ambassador. You've got small producers. You've got people that start food businesses, and they're like, even if we're tiny and we're only stocked in one place, we're going to work with fair trade suppliers, and we're going to put our growers and producers first. And that's one part of the food industry. And then you've got the big six supermarkets who, I also don't want to demonize, because they make food affordable for all, and lots of small farms work with them, and they can be really difficult at paying. They don't necessarily always pay the farmers what they should. That's a whole other story. I
think I'm more thinking of the media.
Sorry, yeah. The media.
And like how we see food in the media. And I suppose
I think we fetishize it. Fetishize it.
Yeah.
Fetishize it.
Especially eating fresh, and, things have just arrived, and we, I don't know whether the language and the stories that we tell around food or that we hear in the media are so much about eating what is already there, like what's left over and what we...
Oh, yeah, no. I can't get a cookbook published on leftovers for love nor money, or soups. Too boring, apparently. I've got 5 cookbooks and none of them are allowed to be just on that.
Oh, wow.
So there's that. I don't know. I think, you know, the media always like shiny and new. So it's a really good question. And I've not been asked that before. I'm not sure what my answer is. Shiny and new, yes. They want aspirational. Leftovers aren't aspirational, are they?
Oh, I see.
The celebrity chefs, Michelin star chefs, things like that, exciting. I mean, when you look at the types of cookery shows that are out there, they're mainly competition based. I cannot watch them. They make my heart race. They're competition based.
So stressful.
Obviously, we can't taste the food as the consumer sat on the sofa, so it's very visual based. Right. I rarely see people talking about leftovers. I think there's a show on Netflix called like Best Leftovers Ever, but I think it's a bit American and shouty. I don't mean American like that. I mean like it's that, you know, that fast-paced like da-da-da-da-da, and after the break we're going to do this. Yeah. Basically all the cookery shows I can't do. You don't see leftovers. You don't see many stories
really
of the
see, like,
farmers.
Rituals, you know, and like historical rituals. You don't really see like, you know, I suppose like indigenous cooking practice.
That would be amazing.
Shows. I'm just making some TV shit. Like
anyone in the I'm sure we've got a bit of media here in the Soho and the fine rooms of Soho House. But what you do have is you've got your Stanley Tucci's, but they're always Italy and France, aren't they?
True,
and I love Italy and
Western,
I love France.
Yeah.
Yes, they're European and they do a lot of like the cucina povera, like here's what this, you know, family have been doing for years to roll that over, preserve that. They've been doing it this way. And that is really interesting and looks delicious and like heartwarming to see people doing things. But you're right. I don't see anything beyond... There's Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. What happens in Gordon Ramsay Uncharted?
He goes all over the world and gets into indigenous cultures and learns things and seals it and creates something that is actually...
Does he then cook for them? Yeah. And they have to eat it?
Oh,
He cooks for them. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
I mean, I think I once read that Gordon Ramsay's got like 40 different cookery shows.
Oh, wow.
Can't they give someone else a break?
I'm sure
you know,
they can.
and then his daughter as well has got her own cookery show. Like, could everyone else that's not related
to
Gordon Ramsay
have a show?
But thank you for telling us that. No, that would be wonderful. I really love following, I hope I say her surname right, Padma Lakshmi.
Oh,
Did I say her right?
yeah.
And I think she does an amazing job of talking about and like handing over her platform. She'll recreate things or shout things out, and she, you know, talks about food and politics all the time, you know, and I think she balances it really well to keeping people engaged. You know, she'll be like, here's a recipe for this, go and vote, you know. Yeah. And I like that. I like that style. And I, not comparing myself to Padma, but I try when I'm giving a recipe, you know, I'm like, if you want my free recipe, I make people read about it first. Like, this is why I'm giving you this recipe, because it's about fair trade chocolate, and this is why fair trade farmers deserve a fair trade price. Or I'm sharing this recipe with you now for, I haven't posted for a couple of days. I'm really enjoying not posting.
Enjoy it. I think that's important.
What have I posted recently? Can't remember. You know, probably something with squash and squash peel and squash seeds, because there were so many pumpkins left over from Halloween. So I'm like, here's a recipe,
of course.
But you know, here's the kind of the serious bit in and amongst the delicious squash recipe.
Yum. Well, that's all the time that we
No,
have for
is it?
today. Yeah, it is.
Is it?
It is. But thank you so much.
God, that flew by.
I know, for joining us. Yeah. Now you've got time to eat, which I think is the most important thing. Now we all have time to eat.